Hello everyone. So here is my pie chart. It's hand drawn, so try not to judge too much. So it has 4 sections. The red is evidence-based research. The blue is like morality, personal experience, like ideology, kind of that personal aspect. Yellow is regulations and laws, so like what does the law say is required. And then 10 is like feasibility or functional. Are the resources really applicable? So I wanted to break it down a little. Evidence-based research is 50% of the pie. I think that part is the most important because it really informs the approach you're taking into teaching. So I think a lot about the DARE program, how very little research was done, and we were assuming for the longest time that it was a good resource and it like minimized drug exposure and drug usage, but in reality the research once conducted said opposite. And so in the field of practice, I think it's important that we have research to back up our approaches, actions, how we teach students. And so I think skipping over that would be inappropriate. So that's why it's my biggest piece. The 30%, which is like my personal experience, I wanted to talk about a couple different things. So one of my mottos is creating a safe space for all. That's always been one of my mottos. I was a student in special education when it was very individualized, but it was always pull out by yourself in a little basement room. And so you missed a lot of that social engagement, the parts of school that make it fun and motivating. And so I would never want that to be the case for students I work with. So that is one motivator, that I want my space to be exciting. I don't want being in my space to be a punishment for a student. And then another motivator is lately, this is a little off topic, but like I think very relevant. So on TikTok, there's this trend going around it's about I used to be the IEP student, now look at me, and it's like them graduating with a PhD or them creating a new product or whatever it may be, and then all the parents saying like how motivating this is as their child needs services. And I think we're really progressing as a society on how to make sure that all spaces are inclusive, and that despite differences in learning or differences in ability, we're still all capable of achieving things. Little off tangent, that's okay, because I think it really plays into why that is so important to me and why it's the second biggest piece. I have it make up 30%. It could be probably a little bit higher, but I really wanted to include the other two. So the other two are both worth 10%. It is regulations and laws, and then feasibility or functionality. So the last two I only put as 10% because they really don't motivate me as much, but I do think they are relevant to the conversation. So laws and regulations, of course, they have to be part of it because they are what provide the funding legally to mandate. The reason it is so little for me is because I think the laws tell us the bare minimum we have to do to promote inclusion, to support students. And so I think we should always be shooting much higher than the laws. But again, the laws give us that bare minimum, and then it also provides that support and funding. So again, necessary but not ideal. The last one is feasibility. So to do all these great things, like to have a totally inclusive classroom, we need money, staffing, space, time, resources, investments, modifications to environments. It sounds great to make an inclusive classroom design for everyone. However, the reality of that is not very accessible. Staffing is a big one. We would love to staff more students in smaller pairs or classroom sizes smaller. Staffing that many people is hard to come by. And so I think it's important to consider, but also we're trying to achieve that gold standard of evidence-based while also being realistic of what kind of resources are available to us. So that's kind of a breakdown of my pie. I'll show it one more last time. Evidence-based, my personal experiences, morality, law, feasibility, and then laws and regulations. I debated about a few other things, but I think this is most holistic to me. I am very excited to see what everyone else has.